Over 200 people flew to Sweden to do something most people avoid their entire lives. And within seconds, every excuse disappeared. Different ages, different backgrounds, same moment, standing in front of something they didn't think they could do. And it wasn't really about the cold. It was about what happens when you stop running.
So that's day one in the bag. It's been extraordinary. We went to a frozen lake and all 200 people were there. And we were doing the horse stance that you quite often see Wim Hof doing, the yoga movement. And everybody was stood around while group by group, everybody was getting in the ice. And it's really cool because first of all, you're stood there in your underpants on a frozen lake and it keeps you warm. Just the overall motivation, realizing that you're not alone in this was really, really powerful. Wim was there before we arrived and he sat there in his pants, banging away on his bongo drums, and it's bloody cold. So we all go and get in groups of 20. And then it was Wim Hof's birthday today. He's 67. Everybody sang happy birthday for him. And he then went and jumped in the lake himself. And he stood there dripping wet and had his photo taken with everybody. So he probably stood there for well over an hour in his bare feet on the ice with nothing but just a pair of wet shorts. And he didn't blink. He smiled. I got a great photo with him. What an absolute legend. And then we did a very, very deep breathwork session, which really blew my head off. I went to a very interesting place, and I've done a bit of breathwork in the past, but I was not quite ready for the power of the emotional intensity of it. What a day.
This is the moment most people live in every day. The hesitation, the negotiation, the voice that says, not today.
We just finished another breathwork thing, and as much for my own benefit as anything else. Look at this. We've got the crescent moon. Probably can't see it. The most amazing sunset in the mountains in Sweden here. And I feel so emotional. It's very easy, I think, to dismiss this stuff and just go, well, it's just breathing, isn't it? But it takes you to a really interesting place. And both times that we've done it today, I've been super emotional. And one of the guys that's in my room had a real moment of just release. And we just had a massive hug. Never met this guy 24 hours ago. And we just had a massive hug to just celebrate what we were doing. And it was lovely. It was really, really amazing. Day 2, the mountain. What an extraordinary day. We went in our shorts and hiked up with spikes on our boots and hiked up a mountain to the top. And it was cold. It was a beautiful day. It was really quite full on. There's a really sweet guy who's been struggling with his knee, which obviously I can empathize with, having knee trouble myself. So he was right at the back and I stayed with him because one of the things I learned from the Tour de France is that you don't leave anybody behind. And it was really interesting that he kept apologizing and he didn't want to hold me back. And it took me quite a long time to convince him that I was never going to be first to the top of the mountain, quite the reverse. And actually, for me, it's more about the human experience. And so we made it. And that was fantastic. And he was extremely appreciative. And he's just a really lovely bloke. And then that night, we did a breathwork session, which was very intense and very deep. And the most extraordinary thing happened. One of the things about breathwork is that it releases a lot of emotion. So you can hear at the end of it, there are people who are sobbing. And it was just interesting what happened in the group. Sobbing for a few people turned into the most extraordinary outburst of laughter and joy. And I cannot even describe what it was like to be part of that. I found myself laughing uncontrollably, feeling guilty about it initially because people were upset. But then those people started to laugh as well. And it was a massive emotional release. And I was chatting to my friend about the mountain and his experience in what had just happened. We shared the most extraordinary moment of just love between two nearly 60-year-old blokes looking out for each other. And that, for me, has been a real takeaway from this in terms of just how we're all bound together by love. And we came here to do breath work and cold water exposure. And what we actually got was something entirely different. Extraordinary. So today was Waterfall Day. And for those of you who followed any of my stuff, who've done any of my visualization work, will know that a waterfall is quite a powerful metaphor for me in terms of cleansing and things like that. So I was really looking forward to it. And I said to the organizers, it's like, great, are we going to stand under this waterfall? And they said, no, you're not going to do that. And I was really disappointed. I was really sad. And I said, why not? And they said, just wait until you see the waterfall. And yeah, it was a big deal. And what we did was we went a little bit further down the river, about 50 meters down from the waterfall, and we actually got into this frozen river that is very fast flowing and extremely cold. Even just staying in the same place was really pretty hard. But man, what a phenomenal experience. 25 of us went and got in. We all linked arms and we got there in a circle. In one of the sessions, somebody said, actually, it takes your body 90 seconds to adapt and get over the shock. It is really interesting if you can stick with it. If you go into the water and you go into the cold and you can just get control, manage your breathing, and just, as Wim would himself say, let the body do what it's born to do. Things just get easier. It was a really epic thing to go through. And it's the sort of thing I think if you did it by yourself, it just wouldn't be the same. It was the stories that were shared afterwards. We had a sharing session where we sat in our group and everybody just kind of, shared why they were there, what they'd heard about Wim Hof and how long they'd been following him, whether they'd had any experience of ice baths or breathwork or anything like that. I enjoyed sharing my story. And obviously I share my story quite a lot to try and inspire other people. And I'm used to that. But the emotion that came out from some people when you start to understand, you look at some people and you think, wow, you're a young, good-looking guy or whatever, and you realize the trauma that people have been through and why they're there and what they're looking for. We had some big hugs at the end of that session and real gratitude for people for being so vulnerable, so open and honest. And that's been a real theme over the course of this week. 200 people being supportive to one another is something that you don't find very often in life. I've been on the receiving end of that, and I've also given. And I would argue giving is better than receiving. But it's just been interesting, the whole going through the experience with different people. Without sounding all kind of woo-woo about it, there was just a lot of love in the whole place, in the group. And people who you look at and you think, oh, I don't think I would like you or whatever. And then actually, when you hear what their story is, you think, wow, I've got so much admiration for you. And again, just that theme of I came here for breathwork and cold water immersion. And actually, that is the vehicle for something much deeper, much more profound. And I bloody love it. So here we are back at Trondheim Airport. Wow, what a week. So yesterday we went back to the lake and did a much longer ice immersion. And it was really interesting how different it was to the first day. We had a meeting beforehand and discussed tips and tricks. We went in smaller groups and it was much quieter, much more personal. We did, I think, over 7 minutes in ice cold water. There was much less drama for me personally, and I think for everybody. We just got on with it. We got in and allowed our bodies to adapt, and it was amazing. It was so different. Then we had a closing session with Wim Hof and a big breathing session. I got a chance to give the big man a hug, and that was lovely. And I had a very emotional farewell with some of the guys in my room, really being on a journey together. We're all kind of similar age and we were all on our own journeys, but it's very much the start of a friendship, not the end of one. And I think that's probably the thing. We were all asked to reflect on what the week had been, what our expectations were, if they'd been met. And I think for me, the expectation was obviously, given what I do as a sober coach, wanting to explore breathwork and cold as an adjunct to all the NLP and CBT stuff that I do. And I certainly got that. But what I wasn't really ready for was the emotional experience and the communal element of it. Just the amount of hugging and just joy and emotional release. I wasn't really prepared for it. I find myself now sitting in the airport by myself, craving a little bit of solitude to just process it. I'm normally a very social and outgoing person, but I do feel a bit wrung out. I can't lie. What an absolutely huge experience. I think if somebody was to say, at a rational level, you're going to go to Sweden and go and sit in an icy lake and breathe. It's easy, I think, to be cynical about that. But what it actually gave me was I'm going to pursue this further. I want to become an instructor. I want to learn more. And it definitely has real value for my sobriety work, from understanding urges and practicing restraint to just letting emotions out, finding a way to constructively deal with them. There's obviously health benefits and things like that, but I just think what it does for kind of mind as well as body is extraordinary. So I'll definitely be back. I will definitely do this again, but I'm definitely going to pursue it further. I've loved every second of it. It's been genuinely life-changing. So thank you, Wim Hof, for what you do. Thank you to all the instructors, but most of all, thanks to the people that I shared it with. It was just a privilege to be part of your journey, to give and also to receive as well. So thank you. And now I better go and catch a plane.
And here's the truth. It's not the cold we're afraid of. It's losing control. Because the second you step in, your body panics. Your mind screams. Everything in you says, get out. And then something else happens. You realize you're still here. You didn't break. You didn't need to escape. You just needed to stay. This is the same mechanism behind addiction. You need to escape discomfort to change how you feel instantly. But what if you didn't? What if you could sit in it and still be in control? Methods like the Wim Hof Method train this. Not just your body, but your response to stress. Because confidence isn't built when things are easy. It's built when everything in you wants to quit and you don't. Every single person here walked in with doubt, and they walked out with proof. Proof that they can handle more than they thought. You don't need to fly to Sweden to experience this, but you do need to face something you've been avoiding. The longer you run, the stronger it gets. The question isn't whether you can handle it, it's whether you're willing to find out.